Welcome to the Brown CS IPP Alumni Interview Series. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Reet Agrawal, a distinguished alumnus of Brown University. Reet, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great, and I'm excited for students to have this as a resource.
Thank you. To start, could you give us a little introduction about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Reet, and I graduated Brown class of 21.5. And I concentrated in computer science and was fake visa, as some people tend to be. I live in New York City now and work as an interaction designer at a design agency called Code and Theory.
Awesome. Could you tell us a little more about your current role?
Yeah, so my role, as I mentioned, is called interaction designer, and it's basically a little more specialized subset within like a UX designer. And so the way my agency works is we split roles into specific niches. So we have product strategy, we have experience strategy, interaction design, visual design, so on and so forth. And so I kind of fall into the spot where I work closely with strategists and designers to create like the right wireframes and the right mockups to solve the user problems or pain points that are identified by our strategists originally. And we kind of do this over like a process of what we say like a define, design, and a develop. So like in define, I'll be working with strategists to determine what are those user pain points. Like we'll do stakeholder interviews and we'll do some competitive research. But then, and as part of the design phase, I'll actually take those requirements and I will create like a lot of wireframes to either approach different like information hierarchies or come up with different layouts to different parts of the problem and come up with different just like visual displays for it. And after that, visual designers would take on my work and apply like the right color styles, typography, and other layers of it to make the mock-up look very realistic. I also work pretty closely with our developers to make sure the designs that we're coming up with are feasible and accessible according to all the latest standards. And I also document our work closely working with developers to make sure that it is accurate and reflective of what they need from design documentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Reet. For current Brown students thinking about course choices, could you tell us about the classes you took at Brown that you feel helped the most in your current role?
Yeah. So thinking back, let's see, I took Design Studio, which is an engineering course. I took UI UX, was a CS course, introduced software engineering, human factors, which is a cognitive science course, CS for social change, and intro to computer animation, and 3D studio foundations. So I think um, all of these courses were pretty helpful. Some of them were more directly helpful in terms of either introducing me to what design thinking is or what iterative design is, or just like generally the process of design and how it works and how it applies to digital products. But other classes were more about helping me learn just like how to work in group projects with other people or deliver like really high quality work in a very like small amount of time or with tight deadlines. And other courses just kind of helped me understand how, people interact with technology, what is that like human behavior and human centered component of that thing, and just as people working in like human computer interaction, how can we make sure we advocate for our users as well as possible. And this wasn't a Brown course, but I took a course at RISD called Design Fiction, and that was really helpful for just like practicing UX as part of like a real world environment with other students involved.
Awesome. Can you also share your journey from your time at Brown to your current position? What were the key milestones or experiences that led you here?
Yeah, I think definitely just like at Brown, exploring all of these different STEM areas was really helpful for me. Like I tried engineering, computer science, cognitive science. It really helped me like funnel for myself what area of technology I was really interested in and wanted to push forward. So in the beginning, I used to be a lot more like physical experience oriented. So I spent a lot of time doing like robotics or like physical art installation design and was focused on that for a while. But after a little bit, like I was a lot more involved with like the design community and I took classes like UI UX or TA'd for them. And I was able to gear my passion more towards digital and software design, um, especially through the other CS classes I took as well. And yeah, the clubs that I were part of were really important. Like I was a part of design at Brown, and I was also part of like Better World by Design for a little bit. And so these were important for me to kind of expose me to how design lives outside of just like academic environments at Brown and what are other people in the industry doing for them. How can Brown do it better? And that was definitely pretty key in shaping just like my interest in advocacy for design and like how we practice it today and how Brown teaches it today. Um, and I also tried to do like internships or just like research positions that were more geared towards either design or like UX. Um, and that also helped me funnel a little bit more if I wanted to be more on the software engineering side of things or like the pure design side of things. And so I just like to summarize, like I'll say it was a combination of the classes I took, the clubs that I was a part of, the like professors or professionals I talked to, and then the internships that I did that kind of got me to A, like understanding this is a part of the process that I enjoy the most, and B, just like how do I do it on a daily basis.
Awesome, thank you. Can you also describe what your day-to-day work looks like in your current role and how collaborative is your current work environment?
Yeah. I would say my day to day can change pretty significantly based on the stage and the type of the project I'm in. Because it's like a client driven environment, like your projects can change pretty frequently. Your clients can be vastly different from each other. And so what you end up doing is shaped by that a little bit. I'll say, like, for most projects and on most days, I'll have internal review sessions with our visual design team or our strategy team members to just like sit through and feedback and iterate on designs. I'll usually try to have at least a few hours of heads down time so that I can focus on creating wireframes or prototypes or work on documentation. Um, and then sometimes I'll have client reviews where I'll be presenting our team's work to whoever is our main stakeholder or whoever the main client is, and just to kind of gather their feedback for that specific round of review. I'd say my work feels very collaborative, despite it being a remote first. My role is pretty specialized. And so for all of us to deliver a high quality product, we all have to make sure that we're working together and kind of all on the same page at all times. And so pretty frequently my meetings are just like work sessions where internally our team would be just like providing feedback to each other on whatever the latest set of work is, and or we might have a small problem that someone is trying to solve and is like running into blockers with, so we'll all like collectively try to brainstorm a solution together. And so it so that it doesn't feel siloed and just like you kind of out in your own world trying to solve something on your own. And so, yeah, it's like it's important to have a strong team culture here. Like some projects you may not have that, but most projects, if you have a strong team culture, you collaborate pretty easily because then at times you'll have to like blur the lines between what your role is. Like sometimes I might do some of the tasks that typically an experienced strategist does, just to kind of keep the project moving or to help them a little bit if they are overwhelmed with other things. And you just have to make sure you have like a strong enough trust and culture, where you are able to blur those lines and kind of keep things smooth and running.
Thank you. I think you touched upon this a little bit about your internships, but how did they kind of prepare you for your first full-time job in the industry?
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, I didn't always have the best time like getting or recruiting for internships, especially because while I was a junior is when like COVID first hit and like for example, like internships that I had lined up for them all changed up and yeah, it was a bit rocky at times, but I think my most relevant internship experience was like as a UX engineering intern at TED conferences. And so over there, it was more of a hybrid role. Like I did user experience design as well as front end engineering. And I owned the design and development of some key digital products. And I would frequently get feedback from other product designers or product managers or engineers on the teams. And I think that internship is what really taught me like how to work in a proper agile environment and like try to stay aligned with other people as much as possible. I think a big difference that I discovered through the internship that I may not have gotten to just through academia is how we present our work and what we focus on when presenting. So, for instance, throughout academics, your focus is a lot more on the process and what are the kind of steps that you've taken to achieve your design outcome. To just show your thinking, that makes sense from a class standpoint. Like you want to demonstrate that you have the right thinking and rationale. But in the industry, it's kind of almost assumed that you already have a process in place and that you have rationalized your decisions. And so, what matters more is like emphasizing your final work and communicating that rationale more than taking them through the steps of your work. And so I think my internships just like really helped me understand how to ship a product and like how to advocate for my designs in front of stakeholders and that are just like relevant for the project. And also just like shipping a product like entails obviously like refining a lot more details and like getting it to be like really high quality that sometimes we may not have time for in school. And so that is something that's really important when trying to translate that to like a full-time industry role.
Awesome. And finally, what do you like about your current role as an interaction designer? And what motivated you to choose this career path?
Yeah, I mean the part that I enjoy the most about my role is just like having the space to problem solve through like iteration of designs. Most of the times when I receive a set of requirements from the strategists, I find myself in just like a little bit of ambiguity because I don't necessarily know clearly what the solution might be yet, or just like, I don't have a clear picture in my head for it. And so sometimes I like will really get into a flow with just like trying different approaches to the problem or with just like gathering feedback or iterating on them. And just like I just really enjoy watching those things take shape over time. And sometimes that's like a little frustrating because I might hit walls or I might hit blocks or it's like I might not just be getting the right solution yet. But I think I just like the part that I enjoy a lot is like having trust in the process and like knowing that with iteration and with feedback, like I can get to something that would actually solve a problem for someone and just like help make it a little more user friendly for them. Um, I also really enjoy prototyping as part of my work. It kind of feels, even though I don't write code or like program things on a day to day, it feels a little bit similar to programming because a prototype like either works or doesn't work, kind of like how code either works or doesn't work. Um, and it has a specific debugging process for you to figure out why a prototype might not be working. Or you might have to like hack around it to get it to work. So yeah, and I really enjoy prototyping. I enjoy the design process. And I chose to do this because I just like being able to focus on specific user problems and digging deep into just like understanding human behavior and why that might be impacting certain decisions or interactions that people make on a day to day. And I just like being able to make those connections between human behavior and our digital interaction patterns. Yeah, hopefully making the digital world a little bit more user friendly along the way.
Thank you so much, Reet, for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. Your journey from Brown to your current role is really inspiring and super informative for our students. Thank you so
Oh,
much for doing this.
yeah, thank you for having me. And I'm happy to chat or, answer questions if they come up for people. I'm around. And Brown was great for my design journey, even though there's a lot more that Brown can do for its students who are interested in design. So I'm glad that this initiative is happening, and I hope this was helpful.